and good afternoon, everyone. So, I want all of you to just take one moment and think, haven't we all slept through at least one lecture or presentation in our life? Yes, we all did. We don't have to be guilty about it. That is because the speaker was merely not able to connect to us. But if I ask you to just remember your favorite movie, we all have that one movie in our mind, right? Why? Because we like the character, we like the story, or we like the visual effects. And that is the power of storytelling. It was able to connect to us. And we designers use this very powerful tool to connect to our users. Let's see how we are going to take today's topic, that is storytelling in our design. We'll start with the basic introduction of storytelling. And then we'll move into what are the elements that create the story. And then we'll look into how storytelling works in different design fields through different mediums. And then we'll focus on specifically on how storytelling is used in different design process of a UX design process. Then we'll look into some of the emerging trends in design and how storytelling is being used in these trends. And through all this, we'll conclude by getting to know how we can use this powerful tool and become a good storyteller. So let's begin. What is storytelling? Storytelling is basically the most basic human instinct where one person tries to communicate to another person. So whatever we hear, we feel, we understood, or we think, we try to communicate to another person through a story. And in designers, we try this to communicate it to our users. We try to find insight into our users, or we try to communicate our design to the users through storytelling. But how do we do this? This is basically done in three different sections. That is introduction, middle, and conclusion. And in storytelling, it is called the narrative arc. So in introduction, we basically describe what the story is all about. And in design, we describe who the user is, what environment the user is going to be, and what is the area the user is going to work on. And then comes the middle, that is the series of events where all the hefty work happens, where the user or our hero here goes through a series of events or does a lot of actions. So in design, user goes through a lot of obstacles or does a lot of actions. We try to understand all of the problems that the user is going to face, and then there will be a lot of ideation or the solutions, what all we can do to solve those problems. All of this works happens in the series of events. That is the middle part of the story. And the conclusion. That is where our hero wins the battle. That is where our user uses the solution into its real life and actually gives us the feedback. And based on this feedback, we goes on the storytelling all over again. So now we know how to tell a story. But why do we need a story? It's because we want to connect. We want to find some kind of depth or context to what we are trying to communicate. We cannot merely just say, this is a solution, please use it. We need to connect to the user. We need to convince the user that this is the best solution that would help in your real life. So we need to have a connection and make the user feel that this is the solution that will impact your life and will solve your issues or the problems that you have faced. For that, we need storytelling. So now we know we need a story, we need storytelling, and we also know we all are storytellers. But what is a story? What makes a story? What are the different elements of story? So there are many theories or frameworks that have been created to define the story and storytelling. But today we'll be looking into Aristotle's 7 elements of good storytelling. And this is the basic and the simplest way to understand to create, how do we create a story. So let's start. The first one is plot. Plot is everything and anything about what the story is all about. It is the trailer of a movie that you're going to watch. It is in design field telling the user what the user is going to experience. So we need to have a strong plot for the user to um, understand what they are going to experience and come back and feel that I want to experience it. So that is the power of plot when it comes to storytelling. So let's understand this by doing a very small activity. So I'll be narrating to you a plot of a movie, which all of you might have watched it, or at least the kids at your home would have definitely watched it. So I'll be narrating the plot. You need to guess the movie and put the answers in your chat. Okay. So the plot goes like this. The movie is about a father who lost his son, and he is in search for finding his lost son around the world. And through his journey, he has found his courage and made a lot of new friends along his way. So you can put your answers in the chat. We'll be giving you a few seconds. Just think about a movie where there is a scared father and he's just walking around the world to find his lost son. While we narrate the plot, we users would try to picture a image, draw a image in our mind. So let's start thinking about a father who is trying to find his lost son. A small clue to it would be it is something your kid might have definitely watched it. So we have an answer from Praveen that is Blood Diamond. Okay. Okay. We have a few more answers that is Finding Nemo. Okay. Any more answers? Okay, so the majority wins here. So the movie is Finding Nemo. So sometimes the plot might be strong enough for the user to just remember what the movie was all about. But if the plot is not strong enough, we would not be able to understand what the user is going to experience. And for that, the user might even lose the interest. So we need to actually construct the plot because that is the first impact the user is going to get. Moving on to character. The character is basically what the who is going to live the plot, who is going to live the story, the centerpiece of the story. So that is actually the user when it comes to design. Anything and everything about the user we need to define very efficiently. So we need to define the persona of the user in design so efficiently that anyone who is working on the solution or the problem should be able to just look at the persona and just remember why we are designing solution, for whom we are designing a solution. So the character should be strong enough to just remember why we are doing this. So this is the example of M&M. They have just personified their candies and given them feelings, colors, so that the user were very able to connect to the brand. And anyone who sees this character will remember which brand or which candy they are talking about. Coming to theme. Theme is basically what makes you stand out. It is about your goal or where the story is taking place. So there are a lot of similar products or services we are seeing in real world right now. But how one service stands out from another, that is where the theme lies in. This very simple example here is Swiggy and Zomato. So they have very similar services, right? But both are have their strong hold in the food industry because even though they are servicing some kind of similar things, but they have their own niche. Swiggy is all about the fastest delivery, the food delivery, everything and anything about the delivery. And Zomato is about discoverability. Anything and everything about a food, you can find it in Zomato, whether it is user reviews, whether it is photos, or whether you want to book a table. So both of them being so competitive have had a stronghold in the food industry because they have their own specific theme and they were able to demonstrate that to the user very well through their branding strategies. Coming to dialogues, that dialogue is basically how a character tries to communicate to each other and to us. And in design, it's basically how our design is going to communicate to the users. It's the tones or the words that we try to use. So you need to be very careful. You cannot be very funny when you are trying to communicate a corporate product to a business field. And at the same time, you cannot be very serious when you're trying to convey your design of a baby product. So the tone and the words and the dialogues that you use should be very important when you're trying to communicate. So here also we have a very small activity. So we have a movie dialogue and also a slogan of a famous brand. So you people have to just guess which movie it is and which slogan it is. So the movie is All Is Well and the slogan is It's Finger Licking Good. So you can put your answers in the chat box. Like which movie do you remember when you just see All Is Well, and which is the brand you comes to your mind when it says It's Finger Licking Good. Okay. We have answers. So this is a very quick answer we are seeing here. So we have Three Idiots, KFC. Okay, we have McD, Dunki. Okay, okay, KFC. Okay, so since this was a very easy one, we'll move on to the answer. So here also, most of you have answered this rightly. That is All Is Well, and the slogan is of KFC. So just by a few dialogues we use in our industry or in our movies, we are able to remember what the movie is all about. So that is the power of the dialogue. Coming to decor. Decor is everything that a user is visually experiencing. It's all the aesthetics, and just by experiencing what they are seeing, just by the colors or the formations or the physical structure of it, will remind us of what the brand is trying to convey to us, right? So here also we have a very interesting activity. So this is an image. And everyone just have to guess what is that brand that comes into your mind just by seeing this image. You can put your answers in the chat box. Malabar Gold and Diamond. Okay. I don't see any diamonds here. Great, great. So we have a lot of answers here. KGF. Interesting. Yeah, so the answer is actually McD. So this was fairly the simplest one because of the color combination. So whenever we see a white, yellow, and a red combination, the first thing that mostly comes into your mind is about McD and how beautifully they have just arranged the bridge. The small arch reminds us of always the McD arch, right? So that is the power of the visual aesthetics when it comes to storytelling. Just by a small structure, we'll be able to recognize the brand or something that the designer was trying to convey to us. Moving on to melody. Melody, we all know, is the music, the audio. So certain tones or notifications or ring or the music just reminds us of something very familiar, right? It doesn't always need to be the dialogue, the words that needs to communicate to us. Just by certain sounds, we'll be able to relate. Yes, GPay. You all are correct. So the GPay tone, anywhere we hear the sound of the money going, we'll know, oh, someone has GPayed. So that is the power of sound, that just by a small notification of few seconds, we remember the brand GPay, right? So that is the part. So similarly, other than the brand, we have certain movies in the earlier days. They never had any dialogues. They just had few visual aesthetics or certain sounds with which they actually told the whole story, right? So just by certain sounds or certain modulations of the audios, we'll be able to remember or understand the story. So that is about the melody. Last part is spectacle. So spectacle is something that is going to be memorable in the user's mind. Something that is not a core feature of the product or the design, but that is the something for which the user might come back. That might give an extra wow factor to the design or the service you are providing to the user. It could be rewards. It could be a simple, interesting, interactive onboarding experience. Or here, just like we say, the Zomato notifications. They hit you at the right point at the right time. When you're hungry, you get the right notification all the time. And that's the wow factor we can see. So where the user would like to come back. So here we saw the 7 elements, right? Now you would be wondering, how can we incorporate all of this and create a story? It's not necessary. We can actually just use 1 or 2 elements from this and actually create a very impactful story. And and it's necessary to also remember we should not actually use all of this together and overwhelm the user, because if we give so much things for the user to focus on, where will the user pay his attention, right? They will just get distracted and lost in the story. We need to have the correct narrative or the correct character or the plot where the user will have the interest on or gets the correct attention, and that's the way we can construct a very strong storytelling. So now we know how to create the story. Let's see how we design in design fields. It has already been done. So there are storytelling has been used as a tool in various design fields very efficiently. And that is actually used to communicate to the user very easily, very seamlessly. So let's see one by one. So the first one is graphic design. So graphic design is all about the visual narrators. It is where the information is arranged through typography, images, or the colors, or the structure of how it is arranged. The information is arranged. So the user is easily able to interpret what we are trying to convey. So just by seeing posters. So here we can see the ketchup poster, right? We do not have to actually read anything. We know what they are trying to convey. They are using the fresh tomato sauce. So that is very simple way to just tell you the story through the visual effects. And the second one is think outside the box, right? Even the words, all the alphabets are not there in the frame, but still we are able to understand what the poster is trying to tell us. So that is the power of how we arrange the information for the user to just get the idea of it. Moving on to web design. So now anything and everything has a website. Any product, any service, every single person they put a portfolio, everybody has a website, right? So, and also the user tries to understand this information, the website, through the navigation. So how they navigate through your website and understand what you are trying to tell through the story or the vision or the mission that the website is trying to convey to the user. So for that we need a very strong story. Else the user will get lost. They won't know where to navigate, what they are trying to tell through the website, right? So this is a very interesting example I came across. It's about Social Panga. So they are the marketing website. Uh, they could have just simply told what they are in simple words in the banner here, but how they have got the users' interest is through the small interactions and how they are narrating their story. They call themselves mafias. They try to connect to the user through the uh, Bollywood impacts, and they tell the story of who they are and what they do better and what they are currently doing. So all of this they tell through a story, and that's how the website is so interesting. The website needs to tell to the story. They need to connect to the user. Moving to brand design. So brand design, brand usually creates an identity. Sometimes we go to buy something from a brand, just because of their brand value. So we trust the brand. We know what the brand is trying to tell us. They have instilled the trust in us so firmly that we go to the product back to back only because we have trust in the brand. They have told the story so efficiently to us through their brand design that we go back to them again and again. So Coca-Cola is one of the example. They have constantly told us how the story of happiness through every ads or campaigns they provide. We feel the happiness through their product, through their story, right? And the togetherness, the logo or the colors they have used, all of this create an impact in our mind. And this is the story they tell through brand. So that is the impact we create in users when we are trying to tell a story through a brand. But when it comes to product design, we go to the brand, we trust the brand, we know the brand through the product. So how well the product is being advertised or to the user, what important features or the experience of the user through the product, we recognize the brand. So Apple is an example. So we do not have to actually look through the logo or the name of Apple product. Just by seeing an Apple product, we'll be able to understand, oh, this is their product. So they have very efficiently designed their product to show their innovations, their simplicity, and the sleek design also show us the luxury and simplicity they want to convey to us. So there are a lot of brands we go to just because of the product they give us. And through product, that is how they create an impact to the user. Coming to environmental design, that is actually how the user is going to physically experience the brand or the product or anything the designer is trying to convey. So it could be a small signage to a big installation to a big architecture or example like this, a Ferrari park, where you go and experience what the brand is trying to convey. So the example here, like Ferrari park, you go to the park, you will actually understand, you will get the feeling of the luxury, the speed that they promise, and the luxury of what they are trying to give. So they have built the fastest coaster to make us feel the speed they are trying to convey. They have the highest loop ride. So just by being in the place, you will actually feel what the brand is trying to tell you. So being in an environment, so you will be able to understand what the brand is trying to say. Another example is being in Starbucks or Baskin Robbins. You will get the feeling because of the colors of the structures they have built up and the way they are being treated. You will be able to get the story or get the niche of what they are trying to convey to the users. Next is motion design. So it is basically giving movement to what you are actually seeing visually. So there could be a character or something of a logo or anything. But if you give movement to that, that gives a story. So the simplest example is animated movies or advertisement, short films. All of this actually try to give you a story. So here the example is of Vodafone. So they have built a very strong character, Zuzu. They could have just simply shown the posters or anything. But when they gave life to the character, they gave movement to it. They were able to create more impact of what they are trying to convey. They have built up, they used to tell all the stories through the character and the funny impact or the comfortable environment they create through the Zuzu character is something that is very impressive. So we saw all different design fields, how they are showing storytelling, right, in the output. But to reach the output, we have different stages. So we'll be looking into storytelling in UX design process. To reach the output, we have different stages through which we design it, right? So we look into each stage, how the storytelling is being used. So first, as we all know, is through user interviews and observation, where we try to understand and learn about the user. So at this point, the user is the storyteller and we become the listener. So we need to be the efficient listeners and try to understand what the user is trying to narrate to us, to understand their problems, their situations, and all that the user is trying to feel. And in that way, we'll get maximum data to understand about the user. And once we get all this information, we create the persona. We create the define the user, and it should be telling the story of what the user was trying to tell us, right? So the persona should be so effective and should tell the story that everybody in the team should be able to understand what the problem is, what the user was trying to do, what we should do for the user. And then comes the ideation and conceptualization, where we define all the problems what the user has faced, define all the ideas what we could use to solve them. And all of this is done through our various important tools. And in this space, we use tools like customer journey maps, storyboarding techniques, user scenarios. All of this is used to jot down what are the problems and what kind of solutions we can produce, and what are the different scenarios that user goes through, which will help in giving us the best solution. So once we have the solution, how do we convey that to users? For that, we create the designs and wireframes, and we give a life to what our solution is. We give them a physical form or something for the user to connect with. So we create the wireframes, give some colors, typos, everything, and give it a movement. And we convey it to the user through a story using the user scenarios we used in ideation, and we convey to the user. So these are the different design stages where the storytelling is as important as how it is in the last stage, that is the output stage. We learned there are important tools, right? So we'll just go through two examples and two important tools, which is very useful in the case of UX design process. And here we'll be looking into user journey map. So we had already defined a user persona. So Vaishak is our user, and we will be having a user scenario. So user scenario should tell us a specific scenario of our user, and we'll be trying to uh, section it into different stages, how the user is going to achieve or do in that specific scenario. So here the scenario was Vaishak has a client meeting at night and wants to order dinner so he can eat it after the meeting. So for that, what all he can do? So he might be doing planning of what to eat or where to eat. He would be searching. He would be choosing what to eat. And then he'd be ordering, then tracking, receiving, and then giving some feedbacks. So for that, what we have to do is for each of these stages, we have to define what was the goal. For example, here, when Vaishak tends to plan, what is his goal? His goal is to actually decide through which app he will order. And for achieving that goal, what actions he will do? He would be opening up different food ordering apps, and he would be gazing through the offers or the options that is available in different apps. And while doing this, what the user is actually feeling, he is feeling sad. And why is that? It is basically, so there comes the pain point. So we need to jot down the pain point. So what he felt is basically he wasted his time searching through all the offers in different apps, and nothing was actually applicable for him because he was ordering for a single person and they were giving a lot of options which it was actually no use to him. So that's why he was actually sad. And once we know that specific problem, we could actually write down opportunities. So how can we actually solve this? We can maybe give them the offers based on what he would have ordered before. So we could actually have a track of how the pattern of his previous orders or the payments. And based on that, we can provide the offers or sort the offers. So maybe this might not be the exact solution, but this could be the solution for each stage. So similarly, we could write down for each stages what are his goals, what is the actions he do, what all he feels, and what all the pain points and the opportunities we would be getting to solve this. So in this way, we'll be having a story to understand his journey, and also we'll be having a lot of solutions So from all of the solution, we can actually then get to that one solution which could solve his main problems. So the user journey map is one important tool to understand the journey of our main character, our hero, that is our user. Another tool is storyboarding. So an example to use this is when we have a solution, but how do we convince the user that this is the solution? We could just simply say, we have this feature, this would help you, but then the user would think, would not be able to be convinced. So how do we convince them? So that the storyboarding is one of the tool to do that. So here also we will be depicting a user scenario, and suppose this user scenario is, so Vaishak has a client meeting at night and orders food using scheduled ordering feature. So he can attend the meeting without worry. So here we are actually describing that specific feature, that is scheduled ordering. And in this and through a scenario, we are going to tell the user that this is going to help them. So the first frame would be saying an upcoming meeting that is going to have come up in at 6:30. And next he would be thinking whether he'll be able to order his favorite meal by 8:30. What if it gets out of stock? How would be how would he be able to eat it at after the meeting? Then he comes the feature that is scheduled ordering. He would be able to order the his favorite meal at 6 o'clock and get the time as 8:30 so that he can eat it just after the meeting. So he attends the meeting without any tensions, and just after when the meeting is over, exact at that point, the order is received and he enjoys his favorite meal without any issues. So that is how we're going to tell a story to the user. Here we do not see any wireframes or any prototypes, but it is also an important tool to show the story where we are able to connect to the user through visuals, through small wordings, and here we'll be able to connect to the user. So this is also a very important tool that can be used. Now let's see some of the trends that where the storytelling is being used. So there are a lot of emerging trends when it comes to UX and the design field. But in everywhere, at least one element of storytelling is being used. So here, the first trend is interactive user experience, where the user is able to communicate to the design in two-way form information. So here we can see the Nike React website. Here the website promises that you can actually build your own sneakers. So rather than just coming into the website and just buying what they have already providing, you can actually design your own. So that kind of personalization, that kind of interaction hooks the user to the website and to the brand, and they would want to buy from that brand again, right? So that kind of interactive user experience is a very emerging trend. Gamification. Gamification is something that would bring the interest or something fascinates the audience. So it would be engaging the audience more into what you're trying to provide. It could be it could create an interest in what you're trying to provide. So here we have M&M. So they were trying to launch a new flavor. And at that point, they could have just simply said they are launching a new flavor, and what are the benefits, all of that. But here, how they have engaged the user is through game. They have actually created a game called I Spy. They have hid the new flavor in their M&M image, and then the user was supposed to find it. So that way, they were able to be more interactive and they were more able to engage the user and kind of bring a fun onto in the life of user. Character. So a lot of brands communicate through character. So it could be a mascot or it could be a brand ambassador. They all try to tell the story through that specific character which they have built. So here we can see the Amul girl. So this Amul girl, who is depicting the very cute and very friendly personality, tells and points out all the major scenarios that is happening and tells us the story. So they have used the character and conveyed to us all the important events that is happening, and we are able to connect to it more efficiently. So that is one way of using the character. The last one is data driven storytelling. So fact is something which would give us a quantitative information. It could instill our trust on what the information is being conveyed. But at the same time, this fact can be boring. All cannot have interest in the fact. So to have the balance of trust and at the same time interest, we need to bring data visualization. So that is a way of bringing the fact to the users in a more interesting way. So here we can see Reuters Graphics has brought the information of plastic bottle waste, and how they have depicted is basically comparing that, showing that through against the major landmarks. So just by seeing the visual of these data, we are able to understand what they are trying to convey. We do not have to actually read through each data or each sentences to understand what they are trying to convey. So data visualization is a very important tool to convey the larger amount of data and important data to the users through storytelling. So we came to know what a story, why we need story, how we can tell the story, and what all ways in design fields we are trying to tell the story, right? But through all this, we need to understand how we can become a good storyteller. What are the key points that if we keep in our mind, we can become a good storyteller. We can produce a good story to the audience. So first and foremost, understand the purpose. For what purpose you are trying to tell the story? What are your values, your goals that you are trying to convey to the user? What is the purpose of the design? And why you are creating the design. So you need to have a purpose to convey the story. And then to whom are you conveying the story? For whom are you designing the solution? So we need to understand the audience for whom we are conveying it to. Keeping that in mind, we need to be very mindful about how we are going to convey. That is through a narration. We need to narrate the user journey of the user to user very efficiently. We need to have a narration. We cannot simply just put a few words and give it to them. So we need to have a proper narration on achieving how the user is achieving the goal. And then we need to have a visual effects. So the crafting compelling visuals. So we need to tell the story, tell this narration to certain visual elements, and for the user to connect to what we are trying to narrate. And through all this, we need to engage the emotion and empathetic. So while we are telling the story to the user, we need to be empathetic and mindful about how we are trying to tell. We need to have build a connection, a story of how we are trying to convey it to them. So once you convey it to them, and you need to give the user the time to absorb the information, to feel what they are trying to, what we are trying to convey to them. So once they test it, they iterate through it, they give us the feedback, we iterate through it, and we again give up the more information and a different solution or a better solution. So through all this process, a cycle of process, we do all of this, we test, we iterate, and then we go all over again. So just by following these small steps, we could actually be a good storyteller and convey our design more better to our users. We can actually go through some of the, there are some resources or in talks, YouTube's, PDFs to understand more about the storytelling. And that's all. Thank you.